We recommend the professional assistance for installations using hard wiring cables. You are free to proceed with the installation using hard wiring cables yourself. However, VUEROID and any of our representatives and affiliates are not liable for any damage to the product or vehicle, or for any personal injury occurred during the installation process. First, before we begin the installation guide, let me walk you through the essential items you'll need. You will need a wire cutter, panel remover, needle nose pliers, cable ties, electrical tape, soundproofing tape, a tester for checking electrical signals, and the Hardwire kit for VUEROID S1. We recommend using fuse taps when installing using hard wiring kit. Since the shape or type of fuse tap you need varies depending on the vehicle, please make sure to purchase the correct one either online or offline before beginning the installation. First, use the panel remover to detach the driver's side panel of the vehicle. The lower cover is usually secured with 3 to 4 bolts, just like this. Once you've removed the bolts from the lower cover, go ahead and detach the cover. Next, disconnect the cables attached to the cover. In most vehicles, the cables are colored like this, so during reassembly later, you may simply match the colors to reconnect them properly once you're done hardwiring. For cables that are firmly secured, you can use the panel remover like this to safely disconnect them. After bringing the rear camera cable from the driver's side, remove the rear panel to access the wiring for connection. Ensure that the rear camera cable routed from the driver's side passes through the vehicle's double panel without interference from other structures, and that it is properly secured. Then, connect the end of the rear camera cable to the rear camera unit. Secure the connected terminal with electrical tape to prevent it from coming loose due to potential vibrations or impacts. Once the rear cable is securely connected to the rear terminal and reinforced with electrical tape, reattach the removed rear panel. Now, let's mount the rear camera. It is recommended to install the rear camera as centrally as possible at the top part of the rear window of the vehicle. You can adjust the tilt freely after installation, so there's no need to worry about that at this stage. Now, to keep the cables neat and organized, we'll carefully conceal the cables running from the rear camera to the driver's side fuse box inside the vehicle's interior panels. To neatly conceal the rear camera cable routed from the trunk, guide it like this, ensuring it is properly tucked away inside. The important thing to note here is that the cable of the VUEROID S1 should be arranged to go behind the vehicle's airbag wiring. This is because if the airbag is deployed in the future, the power cable of the dashcam might get pushed and severed by the airbag. Similarly, you may conceal the main power cable similar to the rear camera cable. This way, you can keep the wires neatly organized and out of sight. To further organize the 2 cables we just routed, we'll remove the rear view mirror housing. In most vehicles, you can detach it by pulling it downward. Now, take the previously routed rear camera cable and main power cable and align them neatly along the existing cables inside the rear view mirror housing, ensuring they are secured without any interference. Now, let's connect the main power cable, rear camera cable, and interior camera cable to the main unit of the VUEROID S1. We're doing this in advance to measure the cable links accurately and organize them properly before final installation. Once you've roughly positioned the units of the VUEROID S1 and confirmed that the cable links are appropriate for a neat setup, use cable ties to secure and organize the wires effectively. Once the cables are properly organized, reattach the rear view mirror cover. Since we removed it by pulling it downward, simply push it upward to secure it back in place. Finally, conceal the remaining cables within the vehicle's interior panels to keep the wiring neat and out of sight. Since multiple cables are bundled together, use electrical or soundproofing tape to secure them neatly. Then, tuck them inside the vehicle's interior panels to maintain a clean and organized installation. Next, we'll connect the power cables to the fuse box. The location of the fuse box varies by vehicle manufacturer. In this Lexus, the fuse box is located beneath the driver's side dashboard. Additionally, the layout and number of fuses differ from vehicle to vehicle. Typically, you can find a diagram of the fuse configuration inside the fuse box cover, like this. If not, you can refer to the vehicle's official manual for detailed information. Fuses are typically connected to various electronic devices in the vehicle, and unused spare fuses are indicated like this on diagrams. The appearance and labeling may differ depending on the vehicle model, so refer to your vehicle's manual or search online for specific information regarding your vehicle's fuse box layout. The numbers printed on each fuse indicate the fuse capacity. For hardwiring the VUEROID S1 and most other dashcams, it is recommended to connect to a fuse rated at 10 amperes or higher. Once the fuse box is open and you're ready, let's proceed with connecting the main power cables. First, the Hardwire kit's power cable consists of 3 wires. The black wire is the ground wire, serving as the negative terminal for grounding. The red cable, as known as ACC cable, is designed to connect to a fuse that only receives power when the vehicle is running. In other words, it will be connected to a fuse that is powered only when the ignition is turned on. The yellow cable, as known as BAT cable, is intended to connect to a fuse that provides constant power, even when the vehicle is turned off, ensuring a continuous power supply. Alright, let's proceed with connecting the power cables to the fuse box. First, we'll connect the black ground wire from the Hardwire kit. The ground wire is shaped like a clamp, just like this. To ground the wire, attach the clamp to a metal nut located near the fuse box. Make sure to check whether the bolt near the fuse box is suitable for grounding, especially if it is made of metal and in contact with surrounding metal parts. The reason why this is important is because, for example, even if the bolt is metal, proper grounding may not be achieved when the surrounding structure it touches is plastic or something else. In this vehicle, the bolt which can be used for grounding is located in a tight space. So to make it easier for you to see, I'll demonstrate using a different vehicle as an example. Following the same method as shown in the previous reference video, the grounding cable for the VUEROID S1 has been successfully connected. Now, let's connect the yellow BAT cable and the red ACC cable to their respective fuses, as previously explained. Attach the ground clip of the electrical signal tester to a metal part near the fuse box to establish grounding. Next, turn on the vehicle's ignition. This step is crucial. Using the tester, touch the small metal contacts which look like this on the fuses. We have to identify each fuse that receives power only when the ignition is on and does not receive power when the ignition is off. Using my electrical signal tester with the ignition on, I located spare fuses rated at 10 amperes or higher. As a result, I found these two 15 amperes spare fuses that are powered when the ignition is on. Now I'm going to turn off the ignition. Please pay close attention here, as this step is crucial. In some vehicles, even after turning off the ignition, ACC power may continue to flow through all fuses for about 1 to 10 minutes in some cases. This means that immediately after shutting off the engine, you might not find the fuses which allows the electricity when the ignition is totally off, as they are still receiving the remaining ACC power for that brief period. It's been 3 minutes since I turned off the ignition, so now let's locate a fuse that has constant power regardless of the ignition state. In this vehicle, this fuse here is receiving power even with the ignition turned off. As for the lower blue fuse we tested earlier, there's no power flowing through it when the ignition is off. Now, we have successfully identified both a fuse with constant power for the BAT cable and a fuse that only receives power when the ignition is on for the ACC cable. Use needle nose pliers to first remove the fuse where the red ACC fuse tap will be connected. Let's take a look at accessory fuse tap. Fuse tap accessory has 2 slots. The fuse currently installed supplies power to the dashcam and acts as a safety fuse to prevent overcurrent. This fuse is essential and must always be installed. It protects both your vehicle and the dashcam from electrical damage. Please make sure the fuse is rated at no more than 5 amps. Some fuse taps may come without a fuse or may include one with a higher amp rating than recommended. Do not insert the fuse into the opposite slot or forcibly remove it. You must keep this as it is. Insert the removed fuse into the empty slot of the red ACC accessory fuse tap. To connect the hardwiring cable to this accessory fuse tap, cut the slightly stripped end of the hardwiring cable. Insert and secure the red wire of the accessory fuse tap into one open side of the included white bridge connector. Then, insert and secure the cut end of the hardwiring cable into the opposite open side of the white bridge connector. Check to ensure that both sides are securely fastened. Repeat the same process for the yellow bat cable. Once both the red ACC and yellow bat cables are connected with the bridge connectors, insert the ACC fuse tap into the ACC fuse slot first. Then, insert bat fuse tap into the bat fuse slot. Now that all the main power cable connections are complete, let's turn on the ignition. After starting the vehicle, turn on the VUEROID S1 to verify that it is receiving power correctly. Once we've confirmed that it's functioning properly, let's turn off the ignition to proceed with the next step. If the VUEROID S1 switches to parking mode, even when you completely turned off the ignition, the installation has been successfully completed. Now, let's adjust the camera angles for optimal coverage. Starting with the rear camera. You can switch between the front, rear, and interior cameras using this button. Currently, since we haven't adjusted the tilt angle of the rear camera earlier, the vehicle's lower body line is occupying a significant portion of the lower part of the footage. So, I'm going to slightly tilt the rear camera upward to adjust the angle for better visibility. Now that the camera is angled slightly upward, the vehicle's lower body no longer obstructs the view, providing a clearer perspective. The optimal angle is when the lower trim of the vehicle is just slightly visible at the bottom of the footage, like this. Now, let's position the front camera for optimal viewing. For your reference, the front camera can be mounted freely, according to each user's specific needs and vehicle conditions, without any problems. After deciding on the desired position, adjust the front camera to ensure that the vehicle's front hood is centered and level in the footage. Once the position and angle are determined, securely attach the front camera. Next, let's proceed with installing the interior camera. If your setup does not include the interior camera, you can skip this section as it will not be applicable. As shown in the video, the marked area on the in-cabin camera is the light sensor that detects ambient light. If the sensor is obstructed like this, the interior camera will interpret the environment as low light, causing the interior camera's footage to switch to night mode, as shown in the video. Therefore, when positioning the interior camera, make sure the sensor part is not covered with anything to avoid unintended night mode activation. To ensure optimal visibility of the camera, use the main unit's LCD screen as a reference, and adjust the angle of the interior camera to your preference. Once the interior camera is securely mounted, use electrical or soundproofing tape to neatly organize the cables and conceal them within the vehicle's interior trim for a clean finish. Now that all components have been confirmed to be functioning properly, let's reattach the vehicle's covers to restore the interior to its original state. With that, the installation of the VUEROID S1 is complete. If you encounter any issues during the installation process or have any additional questions, please feel free to contact us anytime.